Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of MK Invasion. I'm COLEY Weber, otherwise known as COLEY UFO. Tonight with you, I'm going to be your host into this evening. You can find me on Twitter, YouTube, Facebook. Either find me under COLEY Weber, COLEY UFO, or SNX Radio. So tonight, before we get going, we're going to do a little bit of some housekeeping. We have, which is super exciting, some MK Invasion merch coming to you soon to the Scare Zone. So that's going to be the website that's up and running. Also, thank you everybody for being here tonight. If you have not already, please go ahead and hit that like, subscribe, share, and view. Hopefully enjoy the show. So tonight's episode is brought to you by Killer Pizza, which is Forever Entertainment's upcoming feature film, the comedy horror movie that has some of the best, the biggest icons. And you can find that on Indiegogo. So without further ado, we are doing part 2 with Daniel Pico. He, if you have not seen his episode from 2 weeks ago, definitely go back and check it out. It's amazing. So we're going to go ahead and chit chat with him. Hello, Daniel, and welcome back.
Hi, COLEY. Thank you so much for having me back.
Yes. We couldn't leave it at where, it's kind of like we left it at the to be continued marker. So before we get going, for people who have not and were not able to see last episode, which I believe is episode number 4, was it 3 or 4? I'll have to go back and look just to make sure. But go give us a recap of kind of where things were and where you were at, and then we can go from there.
Was this what was it, 2 weeks ago that we spoke?
Yes, it was.
2 weeks ago. Here we go. Those of you fans that are over 35. We talked about the 2 main incidents that had happened to me. One when I was possessed on a film set in Los Angeles by some sort of entity, and then it came home with me, and I had a strange out-of-body experience. I can go back into it in a bit. And then the other was the unexplained phenomenon of the extremely bright light on a desert road in the middle of nowhere in Texas high desert in near Marfa, Texas. That was my unidentified encounter.
Right.
Those are my 2, and I have a third story tonight. But you can. I have a third story tonight that I can go into after if you want me. Do you want me to go into more detail to recap those?
Yeah,
incidents?
well, I thought we'd go back to that movie set and kind of go into there, because I know it was kind of some pivotal moments in your life, and 2, you brought it home with you. So that was pretty scary all in its
Sure.
own. So, what can you kind of tell the audience what kind of movie you were working on, or what the?
Sure. There was this. It was a film called Lawless Range, which is out and available. I was the first assistant director on the movie, and we were filming, and it was early in the morning when we arrived, and it was a very old LA building. It was an elk lodge in a very old part of town in the valley, and building looked like turn of the century, 1910, 1920, maybe most. And it was just a weird vibe from the moment you walked in, and I started doing my thing, and we were setting up early in the day, so I started wandering the facility by myself for a little while, and you just got a weird vibe, and there was like a chill in the air. And this is LA; it ain't in the middle of summer, ain't no chill.
Right.
And by lunchtime, I felt so sick that I couldn't eat, I couldn't do anything. I was really weak. Felt like I was being drained of like all my energy, and to the point where I just said I can't even stand up right now. I'm like, someone's got to take me home because I didn't drive to set. So someone had to drive me back to my apartment. Someone else had to take over my job for the rest of the day. And when I was there, I proceeded to like go into shakes. I had these crazy chills. I was going in and out of consciousness. And then finally I felt like I was no longer in my body. I was hovering above myself, looking down at myself. And I no longer felt like my body was mine. It was very, very bizarre, very strange. And then like that, it was over. I was, I came to, I, was now aware of my surroundings. I was like, I'm home. Something clearly just occurred, and it was like nothing happened. So I didn't have a fever. It wasn't an illness. It wasn't like, oh, the next day I woke up and I felt fine. It was literally like that. two
So,
hours
what
later,
part of LA was it in? I used to live out there in
it's in
Burbank and work.
Burbank.
Oh, okay. I was gonna
Yeah,
say
somewhere
there's some
around Burbank,
areas. Yeah.
Toluca Lake area, kind of like somewhere around there. It was. I don't recall exactly where. I should look up the Burbank um, um, Elk Lodge because it's probably still there.
Gosh, it's
Um,
been about 12 years since I lived out there, but I lived out in Burbank, so I know that area well. And I do know there's some areas out there that are they're a bit murky. There are some older areas. I mean, people, I guess they think LA, it's all, but it's not as modern. I don't think in some areas as you think, but
no, it was. I mean, it was. It's not the Burbank one because I just that's way too new. Like I just looked it up. I was like, no, that's not the one.
maybe
I've
like
been to the Elks,
Glendale
which is
or
it's like a bowling alley, the Elks one,
okay.
but this one is not that. This was like an old brownstone type facade. It was a very old building, but I'll find it one day.
Yeah, yeah, you'll have to. I'm
Sure.
curious too, and go up through
Yeah.
and look. So,
But
when you walked in there, sometimes a lot of time entities when they attach to people, it's for a reason or a connection. Can you think of anything that you kind of walked in, what you were kind of connecting with, or what your
oh,
role was, or
well, sure. There were a couple of things. I know that I was spiritually weak at the time because I think last week I talked about this. My father had been diagnosed with terminal cancer right around that time, and I had just become aware that like, hey, that phone call is coming. So like I had heard that afterwards this was something I came to. I was like, hey, look, like sometimes when you're that close to someone who's going to be crossing over,
Mhm.
if you believe in such things, that someone's going to transition,
Yeah.
you're open to experiencing those things. Those things will start gravitating. I was also just like spiritually, also just like in turmoil internally because I was a heavy drinker at the time. I'm sober now, and actually in about 6 days I'll be 7 years sober. So thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
Yeah, I just didn't realize. Oh, yeah, it's November. I think it's November 17th is my sober birthday.
Wow.
So, yeah. So it'll be. So I was like in a chaotic spiritual state internally too. So I certainly was like if your spiritual self is like an immune system, mine had been severely weakened because I I was hitting the bottle hard.
No, that's
Uh,
usually when they do. That's like the perfect opportunity right there, especially when with the chaos, with the stuff going on, and who knows what that spirit was and why they were identifying. Like a lot of times I have when I've gone through, I'll walk through as a medium and I'll pick up and you would be surprised. One time it was somebody who drank Jack Daniels and the guy when he was alive did, so he connected with that. So,
that's
it's
my
just
drink of choice.
yeah. Oh, wow, yeah, so
Yeah,
it's just like
I
it's
was a Jack and
crazy how
Coke
some
man.
of that will come together, and then your
Yeah.
dad, and then I mean, that had to been just devastating all on its own, and
Sure. I got so sick. It's weird. They say like grief settles in the lungs. Right after my father died, I think I stayed with my at my mom's house just to help her transition for an additional like month or so, maybe 2 months, and then I went back to Los Angeles. And when I went back to LA, within a week, I got pneumonia,
wow.
and I was down for another month. I couldn't function, couldn't sleep, couldn't. I just coughed and was sick day and night, for a full month. It was a great diet, but other than that, it was terrible. But they say like grief settles in the lungs, so
Yeah.
that was something that I wound up definitely experiencing. So it was a very, I mean, that, and even around my father's death, there was all kinds of people having dreams. Now, I mean, it's their dreams, you can't really say one way or the other whether they're a message or not. But my mom was having very strange dreams about my father during that time. Like she had a dream about him that, he was about the same age as when they met, and they were on a train together,
Ooh.
and all kinds of interesting things that she was sharing. She went to see a couple of psychics during that time because she was trying to just find out if he was okay. She was doing everything she could to try and understand, whether or not he had transitioned to some other place, and she really wanted information on reinsurance. Allegedly, she got it. The psychic said lots of good things about that. They also said I was a very old soul and that I'd been around for a long time. Um, I said, I don't know. If you lived in Los Angeles, it feels like every year
Like,
feels like five.
yeah,
So,
right. That's so
so
true too. That
yeah.
is so true. Especially
So
in days there's traffic jams. I mean,
yeah,
they
right.
yeah. Oh,
Um,
wow. So have you lived out in LA? Is that kind of where you're at and been a SoCo boy or
oh well,
born and
I
raised?
grew up in Illinois.
Oh, that's right. Okay.
Yeah, I grew up in Wheeling, Illinois, and I lived there for a long time. And then I lived in Chicago for a few years. And then I moved from Chicago to Los Angeles there for 13 years. And then I moved back to the Midwest. I live in Wisconsin now. I live in
That's
Janesville.
right. Yeah, I'm Iowa,
And
so we're not too far from each other. I forgot
Mhm.
about that.
Yeah, in Janesville. So now that I live in Janesville, I lived here for, I guess, going on 5 years. So it's been a really good transition period of, having lots of experiences here. No more traffic is great. Like I go back to LA to visit or work. I don't miss that shit for a second.
No, no.
I mean, I miss having Thai food at 1 in the morning. I
Oh,
do miss
there's
that.
things about it. There's things about it that I
There
miss
are,
too, you
there are the
know?
moments where you're just kind of like,
And
you
there's
know what?
Sunset Boulevard. There's a couple places
It's
down there. It's like,
it's 1 a.m. I need a bag of feelings. I'm gonna go get some Thai food.
oh, yeah. Day or night, everything. You know
Yeah,
what? It was always something going on in the city. There was
yeah.
always something going on. I mean, whether it was a robbery and helicopters going, I mean, there was always some excitement going on in the
Oh, it's
city.
Thai Angel. That was the place.
Yeah.
Did you know Thai Angel?
No, no,
Oh,
no.
so all you folks out there who are listening who are from LA, I don't know if it's still there, but if you're a speakeasy person, Thai Angel
Thai
over in
Angel.
Hollywood.
Oh,
Thai Angel.
see, I worked down in Hollywood, right off of Cahuenga,
Oh, okay,
down
yeah.
from the Hollywood Bowl. Yeah, so I got to do all of that every day, and it was exciting. It took me 45 minutes to make it 7 miles from
Oh, yeah.
Burbank. Yeah, on the 101. I was like, man, you
Well,
can't beat this.
did you know, what's it called? Oh my God, that's so funny. Heston Mosier is an actor I worked with. He said, I'm the kind of director that brings my own toilet paper to set. I'm always ready. Little does he know, in my kit that I bring with me to set, there is toilet paper in it, but it's not just for me, it's for everyone. So
Oh, so if you guys run out of toilet paper on set, find
I,
Daniel.
I really do come prepared. But yeah, so aside from my speakeasy recommendations. But I had a lot of good times at Thai Angel. That was an interesting place. They served everything in a coffee mug after
Oh,
hours, and so
okay.
they only had Johnny Walker Red Label or Black Label available, and you could get it with a mixer, and you could get Thai food, which was actually really good Thai food. But then you had to, as soon as the cops show up, all the coffee mugs got thrown out, right away. So
Oh, yeah.
everyone's, you're all in a coffee house all of a sudden drinking our coffee. Yeah,
Nothing to be seen here.
yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. But
the LA,
anyway,
it's crazy. It was exciting, it was fun, it was like but I mean, it was cost so much to live there. It was like over the it's like you couldn't keep here. It's crazy because we'll warm up our cars in the wintertime, and then people are like, you warm up your cars? How are they still out there? I'm
yeah.
like, we even leave our doors unlocked. That's a totally unheard of there. So yeah, there's a lot of, I'm sure, being in Janesville kind of taking that step back, but it definitely is nice to visit. I mean, there's so much to do out there, but it's also nice to come back home and leave that chaos behind.
Well, if you want to talk spookiness, Los Angeles is an interesting town when it comes to the supernatural, in particular, because it's a boom town
Oh yeah.
essentially. You know what I mean? I mean, I lived in the building that was the oldest. It was the oldest hotel built west of the Mississippi,
Oh wow.
built around 1905 or so. It's in Koreatown, and they converted it to an apartment building. When we talk about spooky shit, like that
Yeah.
apartment
Yeah.
gave me the creeps all the
That's
time.
that era between the late 1800s and early 1900s.
Yeah.
That's a restless era.
Oh God, yes. And but the thing is though, it's just because it's a new town doesn't mean that it has seen its share of tragedies.
Mhm.
And if you're, tragedy plus, space equals spooky, that town's seen a lot of it, and it saw a lot of it really quickly. It's a really eerie place to find yourself, especially in buildings that were built in the 30s and 40s. Especially like downtown LA has so many of those buildings that's been converted, and they might look new, but man, what's in those hallways at night, man, is not new.
Ooh. Oh, I know in some of the hotels downtown even, I was, like, going through and I was like, "Man, that's like I paranormal is like my home away from home on some stuff." And so I'm just like, there is a lot, you're right. So it sounds like though in talking to you, you had a connection with the paranormal even before all of this occurred.
I mean, I always had. I mean, I'm paranoid, and I'm superstitious. So like, but growing up, like here's the story that I was gonna share is that growing up, my mom's friend lived in a townhome that was haunted,
Oh.
and when I was a little kid, I was too afraid to go in because my mom had told me about the ghost. And she's like, "Oh, it's friendly. It doesn't do anything." I said, "I don't care." I'm looking. I'm like, "I'm staying in the car." Like, I didn't want to go in. And there was an attempted robbery at that house while the owner wasn't home. And one of her neighbors called her and said, "Hey, your window's broken on your house." Like it was like the front door, and then there was like these two panel windows right there. It was like sort of like frosted glass, type of thing. Very 1980s or 70s design. And the cops came over, and they checked out the house, and the cops are like, "Well, it's really strange what we found here." And she was like, "Why? What's going on?" She's like, "Well, clearly somebody was working on your door. We found, they had a crowbar. They're working on the door, but the glass was broken out, not broken in." And
Bro.
what they
Oh.
Yeah, I know. So she surmised that um it was the entity that lived in the house. It used to grab her purse. Like those are the stories my mom had told me, is that it would take her purse and like move it from one side of the room to the other. And I was like, it takes a purse, a
Mhm.
lady's purse, which is not light, and moves it from one side of the room to the other. I'm like, I'm not going in there.
I'm not going in there,
I'm not
dude.
going in there. I'm like, I don't remember how old I was, maybe 6 or 7. And but yeah, apparently somebody had tried to break into the house, and the ghost, as you surmised, kicked the window out or broke the window and scared them away.
Can't be that bad then, right?
I,
Maybe he's
I,
moving the purse so it didn't get stolen.
I guess I don't know, or it was just playing games or whatever. It was bored, but
The
yeah,
parlor games, yeah.
there was apparently an entity in that townhome that made itself known. I did have, now that I remember this, I had a really freaky moment once. I was on a date with this girl, and it was I was 18, and it was in the summer, so it was kind of a summer love moment before I went off to college. And we were out hanging out in a suburb, some area, and somewhere near the suburbs of Chicago. And we were on a lake, kind of a man-made lake in the middle of this subdivision. And it's about 3 o'clock in the morning. We're hanging out, talking, maybe making out a little, and we look over and we see a person in a white gown just
Oh.
walking on the other side of the lake where we were. It's not a big lake. I mean, it was more like a pond, and they were just walking. And I'm like, whoa, who's that? There's somebody else out here. And she's like, that's, really freaky. I was like, and it was just walking, just like, I mean, it could have been a person, but we saw the white dress for sure.
Oh.
And they were just walking. This is 3 o'clock in the morning. So unless somebody was sleepwalking, like there's just this person walking, and then they stop. They didn't turn, look at us, because I probably have instantly shit my pants. But they just stopped and just stopped moving. We're just standing there. Freakiest shit ever. I was like, I'm out. I'm out. We're done. Date's over.
Date's over.
Date's
Summer
over.
love. Yeah.
Yeah.
Gone.
I'm like,
So
relationship's
could she
over.
see it too? Could she
Oh
see
yeah,
it?
we both witnessed it. Like we were
Okay.
watching it, and we looked at it, and I was like, there was something off about that. That
Oh yeah.
that did not feel like just like a person randomly walking at night in a white gown, which feels almost staged. Like it's like a white gown. It's like if you're gonna pick Ghost Attire 101,
Yeah.
a white flowing gown feels like that's the first thing you pull off the
Maybe that
rack.
was her escape route. She's like,
Yeah,
"Hey, if this date isn't going well, I'm gonna give you a cue. Just put on the white gown, okay, and
yeah.
just
Put
kinda
on the
roam
white
on down
gown and
there."
then point, and then we're done. And I'll give up.
Well, we'll
If
never
she's
know.
listening to this podcast, she's sitting there just going like, "Oh, he still hasn't figured that shit out after all these
Yeah.
years."
We just put it all together. We
Like
just put it all
that was
together
that was
now.
a long time ago, kid.
So so your mom, okay, so it sounds like she's in tune a little bit. It didn't bother her to go to the haunted house, her friend's house, or
No, she didn't. I don't think it bothered her. I mean, I can't say that she was pleased to go, but she definitely did. Doesn't bother her. But my mom's a lot more religious than I am. She is a believer. She believes in heaven. She believes in spirits. I mean, ever since my father died, she's had a very keen interest in going to mediums
sure.
and people that have sight. And yeah, so she's keenly interested in that. Like I said, she's gone to this lady in Ohio several times for readings, and
I do read
apparently,
it. Well, I don't like what, but I do that. Like I go through haunted
well,
days. If she ever needs, yeah, I'd be more than willing to do that.
well,
For sure.
I'm certain she will.
Yeah.
I'm certain she will. She loves that. But yeah, so that was, yeah, there's like just spooky stuff. Like, I mean, this is, the girl that I was on that date with. I mean, we had bad juju on all of our dates. It should have been an omen. Maybe it was an omen because we got sprayed by a skunk another night. And that was on a date. This was when my father was still alive. So like when I came home, I was living with them. I was 18. I come home smelling like skunk, and my dad comes out of his bedroom from a dead sleep. It's 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. He's like, "Who's burning plastic?" So,
Must be the neighbors down the road
and I'm just like,
somewhere.
I got sprayed by a skunk. He's just like, "Don't touch nothing."
Let me get the tomato juice. Is
Yeah,
that what they
he,
yeah.
he was like, find the tomato juice somewhere,
Yeah.
use vinegar, use acid. And I'm
As
sitting
if
there
you didn't think it could
pouring,
smell worse,
oh yeah, I'm
it's
pouring
like that,
vinegar
yeah.
all over myself. I still to this day think I smell it on my arm.
Yeah.
To this day, I'll smell it close and I'm just like, man, I still
I
think
know.
I smell it.
I wouldn't say I don't know what the dumping the vinegar, but the tomato juice on top of it is
Oh,
like you did not only smelled, you look like a red it was gone
oh,
bad. It was horrible.
oh, it's disgusting. I mean, it was like,
Yeah.
but I never experienced anything that foul in my
It really
life.
oh, it smelled.
I mean, I'd rather run into the ghost than that shit again. That goes without
Oh, for
saying.
sure. You can't get that smell. I mean, that lingers. It's like
Oh,
you
she,
can't beat
she
it.
had leather seats in her car. She was fucked. She was fucked, man. I mean, I bleached my keys because it sticks to metal, it
Oh,
sticks to
everything.
leather. So we sit down in her car. She's got leather seats. She's got like a Volvo. I'm like, I'm so sorry, baby. We definitely had that was a night to remember. It was like the Titanic and that.
Maybe it was a payback, the lady in the white. She's
Lady
like,
in the
"Oh,
White, but then
man,
the Lady in the
I
White was
still can't."
after.
Oh, was that?
I should have known after the skunk incident, but
Oh, ooh, that's
no, I didn't learn my
interesting.
lesson. I don't know.
You're
I liked
right.
her, I guess. I don't know. Anyway,
The
but yeah,
world, the otherworldly had other so, has anybody ever read you before? Have you ever gone and had, like? Because I know you said that your wife, right? She's kind of got
yeah.
intuition and
I went to Marie Ladeau's House of Voodoo in New Orleans twice. I've been there and gotten read. Um, the last time I went, it didn't feel very substantial, so I didn't really feel like I learned a lot. But that also, I was there on my honeymoon. I wasn't really like looking for answers about anything. The first time I went, though, mind blown, mind blown. I had just been fired that night from a movie. They had brought me all the way to Baton Rouge to work on this film, and I had done a terrible job on the movie. I was the second assistant director, and I'd never done the job before. But I said yes because it was like a huge opportunity because I just wanted to
sure.
do it. So I took the job and wound up on the show and just totally in over my head. It did not go well. But I felt like I got my footing. I'd figured things out. I'm like, okay, if I don't get canned, I'll be okay. And sure enough, I got the phone call like as I'm on my day off going into New Orleans with this girl that I'd met down there, and we were like, "Oh, let's go have a night in New Orleans." And we showed up down there, and I got the phone call right as we're parking. They're like, "Yeah, we're gonna make a change." I'm like, "Well, I'm in New Orleans, and I guarantee you, I'm not gonna be sober tomorrow. So, like." If you guys are expecting me to get on a plane tomorrow, that's not happening. They're like, nah, take the weekend and then you fly out Monday. I said, all right, fine. So I'm like, well, I'm grabbing a hand grenade and a hurricane and
Let's
let's
do
figure out
this.
trouble.
Yeah.
So I was pretty lit by the time we got to Marie Ladeau's, and then I walked in and I said, you know, let's, you know, tell it to me straight. How fucked am I? And she was this pregnant woman, and she sat down and she did my cards. I paid for my cards and my palm, and the cards were. She was like, "You're not. You're gonna." She's like, "You're in a transition period." I was like, "Well, you got that right." Um, and then she was like, "You're not gonna be home for a while." She's like, "You're gonna be on the road." I'm like, well, I hate to tell you this, but I'm going home to LA tomorrow, in 2 days. So I don't think I'm going to be on the road for very long. She's like, no, you're not. You're not going to be, you're going to be on the road for a while, and you're going to, what was it? The other one was that she told me is that she's like, you're going to have 3 kids and you're going to live till you're in your 80s. I said, well, I've been doing everything I can to fight her on the 80s thing. But the three kids, I wound up with three stepkids.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
eventually I wound up with three stepkids,
Ooh.
um, and she on the road was absolutely right. I did not go home. I talked to my parents the next day, and they're like, "Well, Thanksgiving's a week away. Why don't you just come home to Thanksgiving?" And I said, "Oh," so I flew to Chicago. I was there, and then I got word that a film I'd made had gotten into the Houston Comedy Film Festival, and I said, "You know what? I'm not going to go back to LA. I'm going to go to Houston." And I'm going to go enjoy seeing my movie with an audience as opposed to going home to LA and just feeling bad about getting fired.
Right.
So I went to Houston for another week. I hung out with my friends in Houston and saw my movie there, won some awards, and then I went back to LA and I found work again. And I was like, you know what? She was right again.
Wow. 2 for 2. 2
She
for
was
2.
she was right. I don't know. We'll find out about the 80 thing. I don't know. I switched over to diet soda after that, just to be sure.
To try and you're trying to get out of the 80s or
Well, no, I'm just doing everything to test her, I guess.
Oh, okay. I gotcha. I gotcha.
I
Where do we
was
find her if you do make it to the 80s? Is there
no
somewhere you want us to, track
call
this
up
lady
Marie
down?
Ladeau's House of Voodoo and say who was working there back in 2011.
Yeah, we'll see. Yeah. Maybe she'll be. I thought it was funny before there was a comment. I was going to see if I could find it really quick. It was about the lady in the white dress. It was classic. It was classic. If I find it, I'll go ahead
Oh,
and
the way.
bring it up
Okay,
here.
yeah.
Did you see?
No, I didn't. I said, yeah, no, but so those were.
Oh, no, this is it.
Okay, go
Midnight
ahead.
Mark 22. I think the ghost is hot for Daniel and running off his dates. There you go.
Oh my God.
Maybe it's the
Well,
paranormal ladies on the other end that.
my wife is got the site, so she sees. We can't pass. We passed. I think every time we pass an ambulance, she gets like a
Oh,
vision.
she.
She's
Oh,
that
does
she's
she? Is that?
she's that open. I tried to
I
get her
get
to
the
come out.
death dreams and like that type of, but everybody has their own little, I call it like a little superpower in it. So
Yeah.
when she's passing, so people who are really close to passing or who have just passed, she's probably making that connection with, or,
She had a dream the night her aunt died or her
oh, she's got
grandmother.
it too then. Yeah.
Yeah, she had a dream where her I want to say it was her grandmother came visited her in her dream the night that her grandmother died.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Yeah, it was that she's got that strong. We passed an ambulance once, and I remember she had a very strong image of the person that was in the ambulance who was close to death. Um, it was it was substantial. I mean, she was very disturbed by it.
Oh, I bet.
My stepdaughter, to an extent, has it a little bit. I mean, it sort of like kind of runs in their family.
Hmm.
Um, you know, I don't know if it's The Shining, but you know,
Is
they
she from have an Irish descent? I don't know if I asked you that.
no, Swedish and Romanian.
Oh, Swedish. Okay. That makes
Yeah,
sense.
she's Swedish. Romanian, I think, and some German is mostly their lineage.
Okay. I find a
Yeah.
lot of like the sight part does. I'm part Swedish too and
Okay.
Irish. So that kind of comes from that part of it. But yeah,
Mm.
that's very interesting. It's very interesting. So she's three kids, just one of the kids, because sometimes it does. It'll skip a generation. In my family, it skipped two generations and then, well, bomb, I got it.
No, the boys don't seem to have it. But her daughter, seems to have a little. Isabella has a little bit of it. I mean, there was one time when we came to tell her something, and it was fairly obvious what we were going to tell. She's like, "I saw. I just knew. I just knew." I was like, "I don't know. I think there's a difference between just knowing and being obvious."
Yeah.
So, but I'll take it if you felt like you knew that. I'll support that.
See, there's a, like I always say, I don't ever claim to know anything about the future. Your future is like that. I don't know even know if I buy into that as much. Like I think the cards, it's guidance along the way, but you got free will. I've never had that type of I just, when circumstances or things like that's there, they tell me about the past, or if I know, like, in the dreams, I don't even see the people who are going to pass in the dreams. I just know how close I feel to them, maybe what gender they are, but that's about it. So that part, it leaves that. I don't even know what kind of feeling. Something's gonna happen. And it's just like, the anticipation of sitting and waiting. But a lot of times that activity, I noticed with it around me, it just really heightens. It just like skyrockets. Things are going off, electronics. It's just like K-wire stuff going on. So in your family, are you the only sibling? Are you the only
No, I have
child?
an older brother. He's five
Okay.
years older than me. So
Yes.
yeah, so he was born in '75. So he's just turned 50. So, but yeah, I mean, he doesn't strike me as somebody who is open to those things. I mean, like me, he's not a person of faith, but he definitely. I don't know if he's had spooky shit happen. I should ask him. I'll see him at Thanksgiving, and
Right.
ask him if any spooky shit happened to him in his life.
I was
But at
just
least,
wondering
or
around your dad. I felt like there's some unresolved, maybe some unresolved feelings or some emotions that were going on there. That's why I asked if you had a sibling. I knew there was more than one of you.
oh yeah, my brother had a very my brother and I both had complicated relationships with our father. I mean, I guess all young men tend to have complicated relationships with their male parent. And my brother and I were no different. We had different types of complicated relationships. My father and my brother were not close, and I and my dad were close to a certain extent, but it was still complicated stuff. We had a or just a lot of things to work through in therapy later on.
Right.
So,
Our
uh,
generation, hey, I was a mental health therapist for 7 years, but
yeah.
I tell you, growing up with the supervision, it was totally a different world. It was a totally
Mhm.
different world. So
Yeah.
I feel like we're therapeutic candidates. The Gen Xers are.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, look, I did, several years of AA when I first got sober, and then I said, there's something at the heart of, why I, numb myself the way I did.
Sure.
I did drugs like trash can. So I went to therapy, and that was my way of really coming to terms with the real sort of trauma and things that I needed to really work through and then become aware of them. It's amazing to have that kind of awakening.
Yeah.
Um, but uh, I don't know what this has to do with supernatural stuff, but
It does. It does. It all connects though, because
well,
I tell you, when
well,
I go through or
mama
I get
man.
clearings, yeah, the first thing I would notice, especially with entities, negative ones that attack, their house was always a mess. Not It might not have started that way, but slowly when they clamp on and they suck that energy out of you, chaos. There's fighting. I said the first thing we got to do is we got to order, because that's what they live on. They thrive in that type of environment. If it's a negative entity, they thrive in those kinds of environments.
Oh, sure.
Definitely.
I
So,
mean, happy, well-adjusted people don't wind up as ghosts. You know what I mean? Like, you don't go into a
yeah.
house and then, you have a medium go, I want to know what the spirit is here. And they're like, he wants to know what the baseball scores are. It's not Field of Dreams. You know what I mean? It's like there's
right.
always like, someone needs to go to the library and look up this book, and there's the clue about the person that murdered me. That's always how it works out.
The- so true, too. That's so true. When you said yeah, the normal, well-adjusted people, they don't
They
have time
pass
to be
on. They
running
got
around.
stuff to do.
Yeah,
They're like,
yeah, yeah.
they got to go ride, chariots with Ronald Reagan in heaven.
It's so true. Well, then they got all this stuff now. I have to ask your opinion. I don't know if I asked it last time, but here I always taught, like, growing up as a medium, you send people to the white light. You tell them to go to the white light, go to the white light. And then they say, well, no, that this might be a soul trap, and sending them to the white light's going to get you sucked right back here. And that's why you see the light through the birth canal. So I thought, Oh boy, have I been sending people back here for another round or what?
Whoops.
Wiggy, whoops! I am so sorry if I did
Well,
that to you.
well,
Yeah.
it's like the scene in Poltergeist. You know, go into the light, baby. Go in the light. No, don't go into the light. Wait a minute. Hold on.
Turn it
Um,
back around. Yeah, out of there.
turn it back around. Wait,
The
my
Poltergeist
connection's
movie.
not good here. Hold on.
Oh,
Let me go to a different part of the house.
I
No.
always tell people, I'm like, maybe you just can pause. You have to run, to anything right away. Maybe just pause and check out your surroundings on the other side.
What is it?
Make sure this is a good place you want to go.
Well, it's like, you're holding up like your cell phone trying to get a signal. Like, when you're a psychic and you're in that place and you don't have a good signal, do you step on a chair and just get higher?
Yeah.
um,
I know there's gonna be some adjustments, but I always tell people to if you die, come and see me, come back for me first, talk to me, I can hear you. It's like it's some of the stuff, and is completely crazy. So in your family and going through kind of your lineage a little
yeah.
bit, your dad, his parents were either one of them. Do you think kind of more in tune or spiritual or?
Well, my grandfather. See, my dad was an oops baby. His parents were in their late 30s, early 40s when they had him. So, like, his oldest brother was 17 years older than him.
Oh wow.
Um, and my dad's father died when he was 56. So my dad, or 53 or something like that. So, no, 54. So it was 1954. No, it's 1958, I think, when my grandfather died. But anyway, he died really young. So my dad was, basically raised by his older brother in a lot of ways, who is my uncle. I mean, they were, so none of us got to meet him. We had no knowledge of him. But my grandmother, I mean, she was spiritual, I think, in her own way. She died when I was about 3. So I didn't really get to know her. But my mom loved her. I mean, my mom and her mother-in-law were very close. I don't know about any kind of like spiritual, you know, or ghostly connection to that. I know that my uncle, when he passed away, I know his side of the family, my cousins, they were convinced that he was around still, and that he was
Ah,
he
then
was
that's the
watching
one.
a
Okay,
lot
yes.
of.
So that would have been your dad's brother.
Yes. So,
Okay.
well, all 3 of the brothers, because he had 2 brothers, so all 3 of them, my uncle Tony, my uncle Steve, and then my dad was Richard. The 3 of them, when they all passed, well, my uncle Steve passed first, and then my uncle Tony, and then my dad shortly after that. So, when all 3 of them were gone, my cousin Dominic was born, and there were 3 butterflies hanging outside the window of the hospital.
Oh wow.
Allegedly, I wasn't there, but that was
Yeah.
their they believed, because I know that butterflies is the big sort of sign, I guess, that spirits are around.
The
Um,
monarchs. Yes.
the
Oh
monarch
yes.
butterflies, and when my father passed away, there were monarchs all over our backyard, um, because there was a big junk pile out there because we were remodeling the house. After, as soon as he got sick, he finally gave my mom permission to just remodel the house any way she wanted, and so she went to town. And she was like,
Rubbing this all the
I'm
way. Yeah.
everything I wanted to do, I'm doing in the house because I don't have to run it by you anymore. So she was remodeling the whole house, and there was a whole pile in the backyard. And I just know that my dad was out there, just, if he was a spirit hanging around, he's like, I wonder what this is all costing.
Yeah, for keep it else. Not coming out of
Even
my bank
then,
account
he's
anymore.
like, "Ugh, just call the insurance company."
That's great. I've been, just kind of putting together pieces because there is somebody that, and maybe I could describe who I'm seeing with dark hair. I think it's somebody who maybe I was thinking maybe you're an uncle to your dad or somebody who had passed previously to him, but it might have been a brother since there was such a gap there in age. But they did kind of um pass all 3 of them pass real close together.
No, well, my uncle Steve died very suddenly
Ah.
during our operation. He went in for a knee operation and died on the operating table. Very, very sudden. And he, like what you were talking about, he had chaos. in his life.
Mhm.
His apartment, they when they went in, I don't want to say hoarder, but it kind of it from nowadays when I think back about it, it sounds like he was a hoarder.
Mm.
And so this is just chaos in his apartment. They were a little bit shocked. I remember when they came and cleaned out his apartment. Uh, but yeah, so he was, so that happened for him. And then my uncle died probably 20 years later. So there was
Okay.
there was a big gap. But then, as soon as my uncle died, within a year or two, my dad passed. It was very very quickly afterwards, I believe. Um, but yeah, no, but my uncle Steve, who was the first to go, yeah, he had there were a lot of chaos, a lot of unresolved things in his life. I would not be surprised if he's hanging around because he had
I'm
a
just wondering if he's not the one, 'cause I feel like that whatever it was, maybe there's some similarities. I don't know if you can identify them or not, but sometimes they come and warn you. Like if you got this news about your dad, and even though, they might not have, just because they've crossed doesn't mean they've necessarily dealt with their demons, so to speak, or gotten that, that part out. But a lot of time, and two, a lot of times we keep them close or we pull them in close when we need them, and we don't necessarily know why or know how or why. But I do feel like there's some healing that definitely could be done with all of that. And two, like, I know it's so hard to go back and look, but during that time, I'm sure, the chaos alone, and then finding that, and the grief, and then, all of this change happening is just like, I mean, that's a lot all on its own.
hmm I mean, it was a very chaotic time when I think. Well, I mean, my uncle passing, that all was it was very similar to my father. Just
Mm.
got diagnosed within 3 months, he was gone. It's kind of the same thing with my dad. Within 3 months, gone. And then
So with saying this, so with the movie that you were working on in
yeah,
set, were there any similarities there?
no, no, it was a
None of
western.
that. Okay. Okay.
Yeah, we were working. I mean, it was a modern day western, but it was a western. I mean, if there was anybody that was close to death on the set, I didn't know anything about it. I mean, Chris Christopherson was in the movie, and he was very old and couldn't remember his lines, but he was still very much alive for a while after. Um,
No, I didn't know
yeah,
that would have
yeah.
been connecting with you. That maybe
No,
like,
no, no. I don't think
like
so. No,
parts in the movie might have been acting out that would have kind
no,
of trickled into your life. No, okay.
no, not to my knowledge. I mean, my life at that time was very. I mean, I was really like uh, I was chaotic. I mean, there was the only way to say it. I was living a very chaotic lifestyle. I mean, I was 33, and I was having, I guess, what they call my Jesus year. And it was just a very super chaotic time for me. I was, you know, partying a lot and like,
Yeah.
uh, working, insane hours and, just running my body down completely in every way, shape, and form. And just, it's the classic burning the candle at both ends.
Oh
I
yeah.
think somebody, I said I drank all night and then I'd go to the gym for 2 hours in the morning. And I was like,
Sweat it all out.
and
Yeah.
somebody told me, like, so you have an LA diet. I was like, that's the LA diet. You save
That
all your
is,
calories through
nah,
alcohol.
yeah. They would scream that loud and proud out there too.
Yeah.
There's
Oh
no
yeah.
shame out there with
I
the
mean, you're
champ.
in your early
Yeah.
30s. You still think you got time. You're not fucking your life up just yet, but
Right.
you not do you know. But anyway, we digress. But yeah, no, that was those were crazy times. And so yeah, so if there was things that were coming to me during that time of just pure spiritual chaos, I'm certain I was open to it. I'm certain it found me an easy target if it was something that was trying to steal energy
Oh yeah.
from me, which it very much felt like that. It very felt much something was, like a battery running me down.
Yes. Yeah.
And so very
Did
much
you have
so.
any other sensations in your body that you noticed, like tightness of chest, a pressure, any sort of
No,
marks
it was
that
a
you were
general
feeling?
illness. That was what I remember. It was just an illness, like a knot in my stomach. I just felt sick. I felt run down. I felt tired. And it was just, like I said, it was it was no different than any other day on a set. So it was, the day started totally normal, and then very quickly this thing happened, and I wouldn't have been able to function. I just literally, I'd never have left a set like that before.
Right.
I toughed through, just every type of illness that, you can face on a set, and just tough through it. But that time I was like, no, something is very wrong, and I need to leave.
Yeah.
It was that serious. But yeah, that was.
Did you ever get a glimpse of what it was, or did you ever?
I mean, there's. I mean, years later, I have an image of an older man. That's all I have. It's just like a very old, distinguished man. But I could also be projecting that because there were photos of those people all over the Elk
But
Lodge.
is there one in particular that you
I
remember?
don't know. I just, like I said, I have this vague recollection of an older white man that was distinguished, like the coiffure, like a
Yeah.
50s, 1950s, coiffure. He was,
Ah. The
that's the
alcohol,
image.
drinking. Yeah. There's a great question in chat for Midnight Man.
Sure.
Daniel, since these entities were attracted to you, your drinking, does sobriety help? Has it helped replace them? Like, or I guess get rid
Peeled
of
them?
them?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I certainly
Reheal them.
haven't had any direct interactions. My wife has had them right in front of me, and I have no idea because my wife is so open to them. Like I said last week, I met those paranormal investigators at the mall. They were across the street from my office. I mean, this is the world I live in, like
I
this
love
some
this.
randomly paranormal investigators that have a shop, not a shop, but an office at the mall across the street. And I ran into them very randomly, and I start talking to them, and they showed me their little device, and they did the whole, that was the safe that somebody had been died and suffocated in, and they had it in their office. And they start, running the machine around it, and it starts going ape shit, and like the needles are jumping, and I'm going like,
Oh,
I'm just sitting there going like, okay, man, like, you know, that's freaking me out. Like, I don't want to go near your safe. But then, like I said, my office was supremely haunted. Like, allegedly, there was, it hung out in the storage room that was right by
and
my
you can feel it.
office. Allegedly, there was a storage room, and that was where the ghosts like to chill. Um, and I never went over there. But my wife, like I said, every time I came over, she felt it. She knew it was there. She felt something, and then she went when she was leaving that once. It literally grabbed her purse out of her hand. Like she was walking out, and it went whoop, grabbed her purse and tried to take it off her. Like I just said, she was so freaked. She ran back to my office. She's like, I don't want to leave by myself. I need to leave somebody. I'm like, okay, honey. I mean, I was always freaked out when I was leaving that place. Like I always was checking over my shoulder, and I always thought I was going to see someone behind me, like like in the window staring at me, and just I'd have a heart attack instantly and
Yeah.
die. Yeah, like that. Like that's enough right there to send me out. I'm done. Um, you know, so that was a yeah, but that was yeah. So I haven't had direct interactions to my knowledge.
So what does your
Um,
wife say? Does she say stuff's hanging around you from time to time, or does she?
yes,
So
scares the
she thinks
shit
you,
out of me
yeah.
every
So
time.
she said something. Does she consistent that there's kind of
I
some?
have told her if it's in the house, I don't want to know. If you're experiencing something allegedly, you know, uh, there was a period where around just before we got married, there were she said there were family members hanging around,
Yeah.
and I was like, you know, thanks. I'm never going to sleep in the house. But they allegedly, according to her, they were hanging around. I said maybe it's because we were, trying to expand our family, or if we were, because we were about to get married, whatever it was, they were hanging out. Um,
On your
and
dad's side, did you feel like they were
she said it was someone on my side of the family, because at that time, I think her father had just passed, I think, or just passed after that. I don't recall exactly. No, it was just before we got married. I want to say her father passed away. So it was, and that was all very, chaotic time as well. But it was but yeah, so there was a lot of, there were a lot of, apparently, like, my family members were hanging around. My dad and my uncle, I'm assuming, or uncles, might have been wanting to see the wedding. Um,
Yeah.
I know yeah. So yeah, it was. I know
You
on
look
my
like one of
mom,
your uncles, right? Is there one you kind of
I look like
relate
my
to?
father.
Oh, he was your
I am,
dad.
yeah, to a point where I'm like, my mom would just say I'm a clone.
Okay.
She said straight up when she's like, "There's no way anybody could say you're the mailman's child." So, but it's true. That was. But yeah, no, like, apparently, like, there's an entity that hangs out near my garage in the back my backyard. I mean, I'm like, thanks, honey. Every time I take the fucking dogs out now, after
You're
dark,
gonna find a way
I
around.
wear a hat. I wear, like, one of those knit caps with a light on it now, like a fucking miner. When I go outside, I do not go outside without a light anymore. I'm
I
that
didn't know that ghosts
superstitious.
were afraid of lights, Daniel.
Well, at least I can look if I hear some shit, or if my dogs are staring at something off in the distance and it's not a rabbit. On the, because, like, they say animals can see,
Yeah.
the spirits. And, my dogs will just stare sometimes at doorways, and I'm just like, stop it. Just stop it, would you? Like, you're making me paranoid, dog. Go back
So
to licking yourself. Stop freaking me out.
don't you have a tail to chase around?
Yeah, exactly. Like, go fight over some shit.
So
Go fight over a
when
toy.
you talk about the paranormal, right? And
Yeah,
there's like it scares the shit out of you.
sure.
Like there's parts of it. Why do you think that is? Where does this I'm trying to get to where this is like this originated. And I don't feel like
Well,
it was the first one is 7. Like there's something and I feel like it's there because you can connect with it and tap into it.
I think that there's something. I mean, like, I was actually thinking about this today, because I've been doing final posts, sound and music mixing, or not music mixing, but music composition for my feature Solstice, the horror film that we were talking about last week.
Uh,
And as I'm getting drafts and I'm rewatching the movie, and, music is key to, scares and things like that. So I had a scene that was like a scare jump, in the movie, and the scene is particularly freaky. I showed it to my mom. My mom was very uncomfortable while we were watching the movie. It's one of the few, like, spooky
ooh.
scenes in the movie, and she was very upset while she was watching it. She's like, "Why did you show me this?" So music was really vital to it. And I'm sitting there going, like, and I'm like, well, what about this is scary? Like, am I investigating things that just scare me, or do I think what scares other people? Because there are very specific things that scare the shit out of me, like
Right.
looking at and finding a face where you're not supposed to. Like, that to me, being watched and not being aware of it until the last moment, home invasions are a thing that terrifies me. Like, I saw the documentary about the Golden State Killer. I don't know if you are familiar with that. It was on
Oh
HBO.
yeah.
Amazing documentary series. I'll Be Gone in the Dark, I think is what it was called. And there was one of the incidents that one of the witnesses talked about, is looking out their window while they were babysitting and seeing a person right outside the window staring at them naked.
Oh.
And, like, that was something that terrified her. I didn't sleep that night. I was living in LA in a tiny apartment with a roommate, and my roommate and we're watching that documentary together, and we got hooked on it. And that scene, for whatever particular reason, upset me deeply. And I was like, that's like one of my great fears. you
So
know.
triggered. Okay.
Yeah, I
Okay.
was like, that's a big fear of mine. So like,
So you're
oh,
working on these films, right?
yeah,
And you're saying like this music, things that you can identify in other people what they might be afraid of, but it's not the same things that you're afraid of.
not necessarily. So it's weird how you're trying to translate what you think is scary. I mean, it's like what you think is scary to a certain extent is like, trying to make a movie sexy. Everybody finds something different sexy. Everybody finds something different scary.
Right.
So what's personal and fearful? So like that's why people resort to like jump scares, is because everybody gets startled. You can
Mhm.
startle anybody with a cat jumping out of the dark. So it's universal. It's primal. Something jumping out, and
Oh
you're
yeah.
not
Yeah.
expecting it. You
Yeah.
know,
Oh yeah, I don't like that either.
but then if you're David Lynch and you're doing Twin Peaks, and an art director is literally in the room that you're shooting, and he looks and he sees you kneeling down by the bed and says, I'm so uncomfortable with you being right there. I'm going to put you there in the scene. And it's one of the most disturbing things I've ever seen. But literally the guy who played the killer, or the entity in Twin Peaks was a set decorator
Oh
who he
wow.
saw on set and goes, you make me uncomfortable. Like, I don't know what it is about you, but you make me uncomfortable. And then he literally, the famous scene from the pilot of Twin Peaks is, Grace Zabriskie walks into the room in the morning trying to find the girl that's died, Laura Palmer. She's looking around. She's like, Laura, looks around the room, doesn't see anything, walks out. And then that night she's sitting there and she's thinking about that moment when she walked in that room. And she's playing it over and over in her head until she realizes there's a face down by the corner of the bed staring back at her. And there's somebody in that
Ooh.
room. And she totally overlooked it. And it's that killer. And that is the most upsetting damn thing I can
Right.
think of, because I remember seeing that, and that was on television. I mean, it's not violent. It doesn't need to be violent. It doesn't need to be gross or
No,
gory.
no.
It's just the idea of something there
Psychological.
watching you that you're not expecting. And I think that's part of why the supernatural, particularly ghosts and things like that, I'm afraid of, because I think it taps into that lack of control.
Mm.
Something, I mean, and if you want to go back into my therapy, and drinking and whatnot, like control is a huge part of
Oh,
alcoholism.
yes.
And so I think that it taps directly into that because you can't control it. I walk into my office I have black plastic covering my window in my office. I have a big, huge bay window in my office. I have literally a tarp taped to it to cover it because it sits right in front of my monitors, because I never want to look up and see a person looking at me.
So, let's go so it's have you had something like that happen before where you've been observed and didn't know that you were being observed or,
I I
or
have I have one moment that I know that I remember. I want to say I was 5 or 6, and my neighbor, who was like right across, I grew up in a house, my window, my neighbor's house, which is the identical to our house, I mean suburbia, so
right?
identical but reversed. So the equivalent of my bedroom is on that side of between the houses, within, about 15-20 feet. So I could, if I wanted to stand at my window and they had their window up, we could have a conversation technically, by shouting. But the girl that was living in that house had taped like like a cheap vampire face, like a Halloween thing, like a cardboard, like cartoonish vampire thing on her window. So when I stood up and I got out of bed and I looked across
Oh,
look
God.
out my fucking window, there's this face there staring at me.
Oh man.
Now, if I looked at it now, I'd be like, you know,
Yeah.
but to a 5 or 6 year old who sees something they're not expecting.
hmm
I remember getting under my covers, covering myself, and being terrified to leave my bed because there was something horrifying looking at me through the window.
Okay, so when I was growing up, sky watches or sky like is that what they're called now? What are they? Skyscraper? Not skyscrapers. What were the stupid things you used to put in your house? The lights come in. Did I say that wrong? Whatever they were, they like the
Limps?
like it's the glass.
Helicopters?
Like isn't this a sky? I don't know. I
Skylight.
just Skylight. Why I just popped out. They changed names over time, but back then
Okay.
I was so scared. It was this irrational fear of something. But my mom said going back that I was always afraid of aliens, which is crazy. I mean, back then I grew up. I'm around the same age you are, so it's not like I mean we watched like The Omen, we saw The Exorcist, like we saw those kind of movies.
I watched Hellraiser eating Popeye's chicken
Yeah.
when I was about 7 years old.
I mean,
So,
they'll throw the poltergeist out. I mean,
yeah.
some of the most, movies, but go to your light in the sky. I'm just wondering if that part of it doesn't play because that everything that you're talking about in that fear module right there screams like ET to me.
Well, I can say I am agoraphobic or agoraphobic. I am a little bit agoraphobic. I know that fear of heights
Mm-hmm.
is, which I'm deathly afraid of heights.
I'm too.
That's related to agoraphobia. I remember doing a job at the Toyota for like the Toyota dealership thing that went on at Chicago Stadium, and I'd never been to Chicago Stadium before, and I was a production assistant. This was years and years ago, and I worked there for about a week. And at one point, they had these luxury boxes, and one of my jobs was to go through and stock all the luxury boxes with like beer and wine and soda and waters, and like I was driving, walking around with this cart, driving a cart all around this place loading these things up, and I couldn't go anywhere near the edge of the um, the box because being that close freaked me out so much I get weak in the knees.
So
And
you're afraid of like situations you can't get out of, being enclosed into like situations like there's no easy way out of. Is
either
that
that
kind
or
of
I know that there's a I had also heard that a fear of heights and like ledges and like things like that
uh-huh.
is also related to you're afraid that you can't override the urge to jump. That is, believe it or not, part of why you're
To
afraid of heights.
escape to escape the situation.
Yeah, but you
Oh yeah.
can't. There's the safety mechanism of like, I won't get too close to it, or I'll be safe around this area. You don't know if you have the safety mechanism to stop yourself from going over the edge.
Mm. See, it doesn't bother me if I'm I have my pilot's license. I'll get on any roller coaster, but if you're gonna put me and I'm out there and I'm not strapped in and I'm like even getting up on a ladder is I'm like, I can do this. It just kind of like it strikes me too. But then again, there's that similarity to that. I just know. Have you ever, I guess, in the dream state, even, um, and you talked about it when you were coming back, this paranormal thing, how you felt that you had almost like you left your body, you were detaching from your body, or having some sort of OBE out of body experience, or
You
how
know,
would you describe that?
it's interesting that you mentioned that. I've had a dream state.
Mm.
I can say for a fact I had a dream similar to that when I was a child, and I've never forgotten it. I must have been 5, and it has stuck with me till I'm 45 now. And I remember that. I remember there were 2 dreams that I had as a child that were so terrifying that I never forgot them. I still remember them vividly. One seems silly now. At the time, it wasn't silly, but I remember I walked into my backyard of my parents' house. And I want to say I had this dream 5 or 6 years old. And there was what I'm going to describe as a witch.
Mm.
Okay. And she was grilling. But then she told me that she was grilling human flesh and offered me some.
Ooh.
That fuck you. Like,
Right?
as a 5 or 6 year old, having
Mm.
that vivid of a dream and never forgetting it. I remember vividly that whole dream.
Wow.
Every part of it. I have
Did you
never forgotten.
recognize her?
No, I don't think so. I mean, her face, like I said, I describe her as a witch because she was ugly. She was like an ugly, I want to say older person. But there was, like I said, the only word, I don't know why, but the only reason I describe her as a witch is because that's how I've always thought of her in the dream. But she was grilling human flesh and offering me some.
What was the second dream? I have a theory,
The
but what
other
was the second
dream
one?
it's really interesting. I was levitating,
Mm.
or if I wasn't levitating, somebody else was, and it was in my living room of my house, and I was either seated on the couch or asleep on the couch in this dream, and there was a person levitating. Um, I want to say they were like legs folded, almost like they were meditating, but they were levitating over me
Mm.
in the room. And to this day, um, things like that fly in movies
Mhm. Now we're
um,
getting somewhere. I
really
have
freak me out. Like the that series, Raised by Wolves, the HBO series.
oh, yeah.
The robots in that levitate and just like hover, and then they their creepy eyes, and then they scream, and then people explode.
Right?
uh, I when I watched that series, it was nightmare fuel. Like I remember saying to my roommate at the time who was watching that with me, I'm like, Tessa, this shit's nightmare fuel to me. Like that's really freaking me out, making me uncomfortable. There was a
So when you're
poster.
5,
Yeah.
6 years old, where are you located at?
Wheeling,
Is that
Illinois.
Chicago? Are
Yeah,
you
suburbs of Chicago.
do you think, and then did you ever do any research in the area to see if there was any sort of, like, ritualistic occult, like, did you have any, I mean, which is,
Well,
I know it sounds a
I,
little crazy,
no, but
but this is what it's
well,
about.
this is the '80s. It's Satanic Panic. I mean,
Yes,
we all
yes.
were afraid in the 1980s. And this is 1986. I was born in '80, so by '86, '87, I want to say that's toward the end of the Satanic Panic. I think that was more like early '80s, '85. I want to say like Satanic Panic kind of was tapering off by this '86, '87. At least in my memory. I remember hearing a lot about shit, like because I had HBO when I was a kid, so I was exposed to all kinds of things I probably shouldn't have been. Um, and one of them was their documentaries they would put on, and I remember very specific. Excuse me, I remember very specifically a documentary on Satan. Um, Anyone seeing, I believed in the devil when I was a kid. Like I was, I wasn't necessarily religious, but I remember being very superstitious. And I remember, you know, I grew up with Poltergeist, and Poltergeist, people forget, like, because of all the other
Oh
movies they
gosh.
made.
Yeah, I
The
know.
bad guy in the original Poltergeist is the devil. She says literally, like Tangina Barrett says in that amazing scene with her and Joe Beth Williams, who's like the heart of that movie. Really makes that movie work because she really believes all the things that she's hearing in that movie. She makes you believe she believes them. But Tangina Barrett says it to her. She's like, it lies to her. He's talking about Carol Ann. Like, it lies to her, tells her things that only a child would understand. You know, it keeps her close to
Mm,
him.
only a
But
child would
you
understand.
know, to
Yes.
her, it's just another child. To
Under
us,
the age of 7,
yeah,
yes.
it is the beast, is what she calls it. And I hear that and I go, oh, it's the devil. She's talking about, she's like, it's the devil that's holding your child hostage. The stakes don't get any higher than that. But when you really start talking about, um, the fears of a child, you know, when you're exposed to all these things, you believe. I mean, I grew up Catholic. I mean,
I did
the
too.
devil, yeah, the devil's real, sins are real, demons are real
Did it
things.
not freak you out that you went to a church that they turn wine into blood and
Sure,
body, bread into body? And I mean, I said there is no way. So we're gonna have like that cannibalism right there,
sure.
symbolically, and the lady grilling in your yard. I don't, they fail to see, but it does sound a bit ritualistic. Like that's what I'm wondering if there was something maybe in your town, because under the age of 7, that's when they want the kids. Like that's before that brain develops and it kind of shuts a lot of that out. You're going to be very open to that, and you're still going to have that childlike thing, but just some of the stuff, the levitation, how it still comes into play, and
Hmm.
some of the things along the way. I'm wondering if it didn't stem from a family member that kind of knew, and that might be why it kind of churns a little in there from time to time. And a lot of people went in like the Wicca stuff. They didn't know like you said, there was so much going on with this stuff in this new era, new stuff, like new things going on. A lot of people were trying it out, I guess. But I'm curious though, is if there is a connection there.
Well, I think it's interesting. I know that Wheeling had the town I grew up in. Um, there weren't. I mean, to my recollection, I don't remember anything like any cults or anything like that, or anything like that. I know that later on, one of the priests was doing bad things at the church I was at.
Oh yeah.
That I know, and I mean, thankfully, my brother and I didn't, were spared. We didn't experience that, thank God. But we knew the kids that were.
Yeah.
Um,
Happened in my school too.
yeah. So that was, we dodged a bullet there, literally. But we later on found out that it had been going on, and we knew the priest that was doing that. And he'd always inquire with my mom, because my mom volunteered at that church all the time, and he'd always ask her, "Why don't you bring the boys around more?" I mean,
Oh
like,
yeah.
later on, I mean, I go, "Oh my God!" Like, thank God,
Ugh.
my brother and I were heathens. Like, and
Yeah.
she,
No,
God,
the priest
so
got all the altar boys too, and thank God my brother did. My
yeah.
mom's like, he even talks about it chillingly. She's like, they were trying to get him to, and she's like, I'm so glad I didn't. I was like,
Yeah.
parents, you didn't hear the stories. All they did was take the priest, and he got crammed him away in a different.
Well, thankfully, ours, he went to jail.
Oh, good,
Yeah, they
good,
actually threw his ass in jail, which we
good.
were all really glad to hear.
Yeah.
Because from my understanding, I don't know if he got caught at our church, what he did. I want to say they transferred him, and then he got nailed somewhere else. But he did get nailed, and they threw his ass in jail, thank God.
Yeah.
But because I don't think what he had done at our had been revealed at the time. I think a lot of people talked about it later on, and then suddenly it was like all these victims came out
Started coming
afterwards.
forward, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, who nobody wants to report it. It's horrible.
Oh,
Some of the things, it just like, and to see these kids, and my brother and I are only like 2 years apart, and to watch and how the things that it did to their lives. I mean, they
sure.
were never ever the same, and it's just like, how is somebody in cloth and this holy, it just, I don't understand it. I don't understand
Well,
it.
this it's an interesting, it's kind of bringing this all full circle. We talk about monsters
Yeah.
that are supernatural in nature, or that we ascribe supernatural nature to. They really are, in some ways, just sort of manifestations of the real horrors of life
Oh
in
yeah.
some capacity. That's why grim fairy tales were so violent. They were trying to prepare children for the horrors of life. You know what I mean? Like Hansel and Gretel, it's about accepting grief and loss. They, if I'm not mistaken, I'm trying to remember like the actual details of the real, story
Right.
of like Hansel and Gretel. But if I'm not mistaken, they're orphans,
Yeah.
or they experience a death in their family, like one of their parents died, and then they're hungry and trying to seek shelter, and there are adults in the world that will take advantage of children.
Yeah.
And that's what the moral of that story
Oh,
is that
yeah.
don't trust random strangers who lure you into their home with the promise of a meal
The
and shelter.
candy, and they're always the people you least expect. They're the ones
Yeah,
that cultivate, they sit back and they watch, and they're
yeah.
good at what they do. But it's just like, yeah, it's so much of that had occurred, and it's just have you ever seen The Good Place? I always go back to this.
Pieces of it.
Did you get to the part I know I don't wanna be like a buzzkill here if
I
anybody's
know. I know the twist.
the twist, okay.
I know the twist. Yeah.
I feel like that very well could be happening here. I'm like, you know what I mean? I very well feel like that something like that could really be happening here. And it's like, how far, or, here we all think, I mean, they're at least not bleeping out our bad words. But I feel like there is just something really off about this place. And I don't know. I don't
This
know
place, when you
necessarily.
say that, explain what do you mean?
I mean, just Earth in general. When you come here,
Oh,
if you think of the
like the time
structure
we're
of
in,
it,
like our current, the Calvin timeline that we're in right now.
yeah,
Uh,
whatever the hell this is.
uh, the Star Trek nerds out there know what I'm talking about.
No, I know what you're saying. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, at the end of the day, you know, I try to sometimes try to make sense of the times we're living in, because I know I'm not the only one that looks around and just
Mhm.
sees the absolute decay that we're
Oh,
experiencing.
yeah.
And it's not because I mean, maybe some of it's because we were around the same age. We grew up at such a different time. Things were, the way information was spread, the way we experienced life, the pace at which we experienced life. Like I was watching a documentary, about Brian De Palma the other day, and he was talking about Stanley Kubrick's movie. He was doing an analysis of Barry
Oh.
Lyndon. Barry Lyndon takes place in, I want to say, this 18th century, and that movie has these long, slow zooms where nobody's doing a fucking thing. But his analysis of the movie was, he was like, Stanley Kubrick's trying to put you into the time frame that story takes place, because time moves slower then.
Yes.
People stopped and they thought. Like, even, I mean, go back even as far as the 1950s. If you ever get a chance, like, I'm a giant nerd. There's the very first color video broadcast ever, and it's actually of President Eisenhower in 1959 or 1960.
Oh.
And it's the very first color broadcast. So they came to the White House and they broadcast this signal in color. Um, and guy pushes a button, boom, and then Eisenhower comes out. It's very bizarre to see him in color, like, and see the 50s, everything in full color in
Yeah.
like a video signal. It is there's something interesting about it. And he has, like most things Eisenhower said, they were always really interesting and thoughtful things. He was a guy who said that and then did the opposite. But he
Yep.
but, like, I mean, yeah, I mean, if you ever get a chance, like, I'm a writer, I'm a screenwriter, so, like, I read presidential speeches all the time, because actors love monologues, so I'll
I'm
write
friends with his
monologues.
granddaughter,
Oh,
Laura
really?
Eisenhower. Yeah, you should
Oh,
talk to her
his
about some of
his
this stuff.
humanity on a cross of iron speech is fucking poetry. Like, that is, I mean, talk about, like, stirring words from our leader. Like, that's amazing. That whole about basically trying to, basically the olive branch to the Soviet Union at the time. I mean, it's like, he's like, that's, humanity on the cross of iron. Like, I was like, oh, it's like amazing, stirring words, such vivid words. It's so amazing. But he says something really interesting, that he goes, because of television, basically, in so many ways, I'm going to paraphrase it. The way we consume information and the way in which we receive it now demands an immediate response, as opposed to taking any one issue or any problem and studying it for several weeks to come to the correct decision. He's like,
Oh.
now it demands instantaneous action and instantaneous response. And we will be probably dealing with this forever. Like, that was his it was such
Ooh.
a prophetic thing that he said, and he was just
And that's how they get us every time. That's why I tell
it,
people you gotta take a minute and think
yeah.
here, but that got okay, that makes
It's
so much
amazing
sense.
how
Wow.
profound that was. I mean, you look at his farewell address and so many things he predicts. But anyway, just amazing information. But that little colored broadcast, I remember I was working for a director named Joe Pitka, who was a very famous commercial director, and he showed me that thing, and I just thought that was the coolest thing. I was like, wow,
Wow.
I'm gonna hold on to that one for a long time.
And, Eisenhower and his whole relationship with the ETs and the Val Thor, I don't know if you've ever heard of
Oh
that
yeah,
whole trip, and yeah. So he is the Eisenhower family is very much connected, but that's interesting. That is you probably know right at that moment that technology was just, I mean, where we were going. They held on to it, what, 40 years before we even get it? So
sure.
can you imagine the technology, like, I mean, it's just gotta be crazy, crazy some of the stuff. I mean, just how fast and how rapid we're going right now, it's just unbelievable. I don't see how or what it would possibly look like, 40 years from now at the rate we're going. It's such a pivotal point in the world. It really
Oh
is.
yeah.
It
Well, I
really is.
mean, you look at, I mean, most technology, unfortunately, and technological advances, sadly, come from conflict. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like if you go all the way back, they figured out a better spear that could go further than the guys they were fighting against, or an arrow that they threw the feathers on the back and suddenly they had accuracy. And it's like I wrote this TV show called Razor with my friend David Yankee, and we in the show it was a story, that somebody who had survived. It was a, sort of post-apocalyptic story. And in there, somebody had survived, a nuclear exchange and was a
Oh,
veteran.
wow.
And they start talking, he has this monologue where he was talking about how it was my cross of iron speech, humanity at cross of iron. And, he talks about how he knew humanity was destined to destroy itself when he saw that mushroom cloud go up over the battlefield.
Oh, yeah.
He said, and suddenly it occurred to him. He's like, all humans have ever done is wanted to put holes in each other. He's like, whether it was a knife or then a sword or an arrow, and now bullets, and he's like, we just look for better ways to put holes in each other.
Yeah.
And that's when you start breaking it down to that, because a sword is just a long knife. Which is a
Right?
line. It's just a line in the sequel that I came up with. Where the guy's like, "You sure you know how to use the sword?" He's like, "It's just a long knife."
That's it. So, Daniel, what type of movies are you most drawn to? Like, right? I mean, what's is it the paranormal? Because it seems like you go around some of the doom and gloom, which is that's right on my alley, by the way. Um, type of topics. I mean, is this the kind of the area that you shine in? I don't know what's,
Well,
I guess, more or less your
I
kind of thing.
love I love examining human nature, and I like to do it through unexpected genres. I think horror films. I hate the term elevated horror because any good story is automatically elevated. It doesn't. That's like assuming horror movies are shit. Or not worthy in some capacity. Excuse me. And I don't believe that. I believe every story can be done well. The Roger Ebert litmus test for how he reviewed movies was, it's not what a movie's about, it's how it's about. you
Mm,
know Predator is not an action movie. I'm sorry. It has action. It's a suspense thriller.
yes.
That's all it is, with an invisible enemy most of the time. I just watched it again recently with a friend of mine, and she looked at it, and as we were watching the movie, she's like, "I wasn't expecting this." I said, "You know what? I don't remember this movie like this either, but now I just realized it's a big suspense thriller. It's dudes walking around looking at jungle and being
Wow.
afraid. Like that's 75% of the movie. There's some action in the beginning, but for the most part, this is a suspense thriller. It's a horror movie.
Right.
You know, um, just done exceptionally well. With characters that you connect with. But it's also about primal
The primal
hunt.
fear.
But it's the fears of the movie are based in primal things. Like, why does Jaws get under people's skin? Well,
Oh, yeah.
there
Or
isn't
the
anything
movie
more.
Birds,
Yeah.
Piranhas. Oh, yeah,
Well,
any of
but
those.
Jaws in particular got under people's skin because it's the most primal of things, being eaten,
Yeah.
being consumed by another animal. Where
Don't. Yeah, I
where I
know.
don't go into the ocean because I'm in their kitchen.
Oh.
If I'm in their kitchen, I get eaten. When the shark or fish go into my kitchen, they get eaten. So I
Oh,
don't go in their
man.
kitchen.
And you'd watch it and you'd be like, and it would just be one, I'm like, no, don't. I remember seeing it as a kid. There was like trying to stop it. And then you
Well,
don't,
as I
it's
got
like,
older, the scene when Quinn is about to be eaten and
yeah.
he's like kicking with his legs, like,
Oh, and they're showing it under, yeah.
desperately,
And then
like trying not to get in its mouth, and it's chomping, and
oh,
you're like, oh my god, like that. I can't imagine a more horrific end to your
oh,
life, like that you become something's food, like it's
yes.
eating you. Because what that says to me is there's nothing rational behind the thing that is consuming you.
Yeah.
There's no reason. There's nothing human to latch onto. Like that story, Grizzly Man, that true story of the dude who, Timothy Treadwell, went up to Alaska to go hang out with grizzly bears and then wound up getting eaten by a grizzly bear. And Werner Herzog, who made the documentary, he did a little analysis. He was like, this is the bear that ate the guy in the footage. He's like, this is the one. He has footage of it. And he said, you look at the bear, he goes, this guy went up there and he projected his emotions and his feelings onto these creatures, onto these animals that don't have human emotions. They don't
Right.
have human interactions. They have their own social codes that they understand amongst each other. They don't have like the complex feelings like that this guy, and he literally, I remember at one point he's projecting everything onto this animal in the background as he's talking about how it's like love warm. He's like, oh, it's trying to mate with this other bear, and it's feeling left out. He's like, oh, I feel that way when I was a teenager, and I liked the girl and the girl didn't like me. And he's like, I'm like, bro, you're projecting.
So
That
now he
bear,
wants to go and eat people. Yeah, where does the line
the
here?
bear is indifferent. The
Right.
way nature is totally indifferent to our feelings and emotions. The bear doesn't care how that we love the bear.
Yeah.
The
But
bear is
I'm wondering
hungry
what the
and you
guy
can't
see.
run fast enough.
Right. And then yeah, you're right. And I mean that yeah, you're right. I just go back to when I was in the clinical setting and I had those kids and the ones that killed animals, we knew that they were practicing someday for a future with humans. That's how they did it
Mm-hmm.
first, was the animals. And so just to see somebody up there like with a bear that like I'm wondering where does that connection stop with that guy? Like he's not going to go and eat one of the natives, is he? I mean, where does this stop?
I mean, don't get me
Like,
wrong. This store, this feelings and thoughts I kind of
yeah.
had on some of this, like it all sprung from one day I was smoking weed with this guy, and he looked at his dog, and he goes, "Did you ever wonder why we let these wild animals into our homes?"
The dog?
He's like, it's a wild animal, and we just said it's safe, and we let it in our home, and we feed it, and like we hang out with it. He's like, who said this was okay? And I said, that's probably the most high shit I ever heard.
Yeah,
Because he's
like
talking about like, his puggle. But like,
I
you
know,
know,
I know.
it's like this little dog with these big googly eyes, like,
Yeah,
huh?
the one that chases you around, like, yeah.
Yeah.
What kind of
I
that was a
mean,
buzzkill. No.
but at the same time, but that really did
Yeah, no, you're
give
right.
me that idea that we project so many things. Like I remember when I was teaching this course on directing, I used the movie War Horse as an example, about projection of our emotions onto animals. And that movie's an amazing example of it because I mean Steven Spielberg's a brilliant storyteller, and he makes us project all of our complex social ideas onto the horses in the movie.
Oh, wow.
And we just accept it while we're watching it. We're like, yeah, that horse is jealous of the other horse. No, it's not. It doesn't understand jealousy necessarily, at least not in the way we do. You know what I mean? But he
Right.
can believe it because he understands human emotions so well that he's getting you to project that through juxtaposition. Horse looks over here, sees other horse, horse neighs at it, cut back to the other horse. Oh, well, fine, looks away. Horse sad, horse didn't like other horse. It's not really what you're seeing.
Right.
Yeah. But it's what we're projecting onto that because we project human emotions onto anything. You know
Oh,
what I mean?
yeah.
We can
Yeah.
project it on anything through juxtaposition. Um, but but in any case,
That's
I can
so
talk.
true. That's so true, though. I'm thinking, I'm like, oh my gosh, there's this dog, and it really bothers me. And I'm thinking, the dog probably wants to, that doesn't, I'm just going on and on, like in my head with this dog, but it's probably me. Who knows if that dog even feels that way? Like, but
Right.
I'm so convinced because I don't care for the owner that the dog shouldn't care for the owner either. But
Yeah.
we do. Yeah, you're right. No, that's a good point. And when you put it like that, it kind of like that was the first example that popped into my head. But yeah.
But that's the idea, though, is like so, like within nature, we want to ascribe all these, these emotions, these feelings, and so much of what we call monsters or fears,
Mhm.
that all goes back to us projecting something because it needs to have, it's like as an example, the shaman telling the story. Like John Carpenter talks about this all the time. He's like, there's the evil beyond the campfire, and then there's the evil in front of the campfire. You know what I mean? There's,
Yeah.
the evil beyond the campfire is in the darkness. It's shapeless. It's nameless. We're afraid of that.
Mhm.
But then there's the evil near the campfire, and that's the evil in man. That's the evil in us. You
Right.
know, that's the story that's harder to tell because it has a shape and it's hard to look at ourselves and see within ourselves what we are and see the evil within ourselves. Like that priest,
Yeah.
whatever, to me that's pure evil. You
Yes,
know
it
what I
is.
mean?
Yeah,
That
I
that's
agree.
that's real evil. It's
Mhm.
hard to look at that and then try to project human emotions onto that monster
Yeah.
and say, what were you thinking? What drove you to think that what you did was acceptable by any standard of civilization?
Mm. The people who hurt are hurt, and that's like something that they can't, the cycle. But I'm telling you, at some point, you have that choice. I mean, I don't care. People can argue this all day long, but as a mental health therapist, there is no cure for this. And it
Sure.
runs and it's like in generation after generation. So, what do you, I mean, which is, I'm more, that's exactly it. The what's here and now, and it's so evil. It really is. It's like it can't be like anything but I can't. And there's some people that can go and they can find good qualities, and it's like, but when I used to deal with these kids in a clinical setting, and they were so severely abused and neglected, they didn't have real empathy. They watched you. They observed you. They did, and even when I thought that I was making this huge progress with them, no, they were telling me what I wanted to hear. And inevitably, there's nothing that you can do. If you have not developed that empathy and that emotion for other people, you're not going to care. And it's just like some of the most horrendous acts that they had done. And it was like by people that, I mean, you'd almost like would have thought that they were like your friend, or they wanted to get, just kind of like as they're watching and observing. But that's just the only charge that they get. They're not happy and sad, or any range of emotion. They're angry, and they've got to take that and get that because there's something pulling at them all the time until they do what they do, and to like lower, then it lowers that. But that's their emotion that they get to feel.
If
So
you
it's like, man,
you want to go real deep,
yeah, let's do it. Let's go.
you want to
I'm
go real
ready.
deep. Think about the history of empathy. Empathy, as we know it in civilization, doesn't exist until the mid 19th century when the
Mm.
modern novel is invented. That's the first time that people start understanding other people's stories and feel something for it. And really, empathy becomes a larger concept that people are accepting. and becoming part of
Mm.
how they view other people. It's because it's the first time that people started to learn other people's stories in a deeper, dramatic way.
Do you think it's control?
Well, I think it's more of a we started to become, because if you look at from mid 19th century on, empathy as part of civilization grows exponentially
Well,
because
you
of
say, okay, let's even look at this. The empaths, the people that are picking up on everybody's emotion,
mhm.
don't hurt people's feelings. Don't like, I'm just seeing, not that the controls that where you should go with this, but I'm seeing how it could be invented for some serious control over people. Because I mean, look at, I mean, in the past 5 years, you have to be careful of what you say and how you say it, because all of a sudden, you're going to take some Generation Xers who are used to have Gary Busey filters on them, and you're going to tell us we're going to offend somebody.
well,
It's like,
well, I
what do you
think
do
I
with that?
think to maybe put a name on what you're talking about. What we're talking about now is empathy fatigue. People
Mm,
are out of empathy nowadays.
yeah,
We're
that's so
generations.
true. That's
We're
so
we're
true.
generations.
Yes.
Like example, like I didn't learn about this really. At least I didn't start becoming aware of this, like the concept of like empathy fatigue, until when I was living in Los Angeles in 2019, and that's right before the just national explosion about what everybody knew about the homeless situation in LA
Oh
and how
gosh.
bad it had really gotten.
Oh
By
gosh.
2019, it was unlivable in Hollywood,
Yeah.
because you walk through Hollywood and you just walk through these encampments just on the sidewalk
Uh,
everywhere.
They were
And
when
to the
I was there, they were I remember DeLong Pre Park. I mean, it
oh
was
yeah,
and then it was, I mean, it got so much worse.
well it
That's
was confined to Los Angeles Street for the longest time.
yes,
So
yes.
like you go to downtown LA, you go to Los Angeles Street, it's Skid Row.
Yep.
That's literally um, what you would talk about for what you would
Mhm.
call, like people the perception of what Skid Row is.
Oh, yeah.
And then it exploded everywhere else. And then I remember talking to a coworker, and she said, I can't walk to work anymore because I just cry the whole time, and now I'm just annoyed.
Yeah. See? Yes. There
Yeah.
was a nice guy when I pull up, he used to jump out of the dumpster. He lived there. And then at a certain point, like I was taking, I couldn't go to my car and take a little nap during like whatever break because it's like, and then there were times it's like all of a sudden, it's LA, like stuff happens, but it's like the murders or the crime or the breaking and entering or the feces everywhere around the shop. It's just like
Hmm.
people don't understand, but that was normal working out there.
So
That
I,
was
I think
normal.
I think we're getting the cue to wrap it up. So um,
Now that we went down this road, yeah.
yeah,
But
but I
there,
think to put a pin on it, those. But if you just track really quickly, just so I can finish I guess the through line we're on is if you look at empathy as like a cultural thing that
mhm.
changing and growing generation to generation, becomes more and more empathetic than the last one, understanding more people, and they also grows at the same time exponentially as media and mass media grows. People are learning more, they're being exposed to more people around the world. Globalism then leads to people understanding, somebody in Germany being able to understand somebody in Nigeria and what their lives are like because of the cross pollination of cultures and media, and being able to understand and learn who each other are on the other side of the planet, understand that their lives might not be so different as they see each other as they thought once. Go back to 14th century, and there is literally a profession of executioner, of a dude who goes around town to town, be like, you got someone who needs killing, pay me and I'll do it. So then the prisoners come out, and they literally are standing there, and they're like, okay, we're going to go ahead and we're going to behead someone today. And everybody comes out. They're selling, window seats and, the
Yeah.
town square. Somebody
Town
runs in a
square,
parking
everybody's
there.
oh yeah.
They're bringing
Wow.
out the hand pies. Everybody's like, where's the pasties? And, and like everyone's enjoying themselves because they want to see what it looks
Nobody
like
seemed
when
a bit
someone gets
bothered.
drawn and quartered,
Yep.
or when a head comes off or whatever. They want to see it because why not? There ain't much else to do.
And do you think
So
it was because they deserved it? They felt real deep down inside they deserved it?
I'm willing to wager it's curiosity.
Curiosity?
I think
I think it
people,
definitely has,
there
yeah.
could be some people like, somebody got murdered,
Or
there's
like
that,
can
eye for an eye
maybe not even
shit.
that, but conditioned in their head for it to be
Yeah.
okay, to have that
And,
curiosity.
but imagine how cruel life was. People didn't live past 30,
Right. Oh, yeah, no, yeah,
or if you
you're
lived
right.
past 30, you were lucky, and then you were probably going to live till you were 60 if you were lucky. But
Oh, yeah, I
after
played
that,
the Oregon Trail. Oh, yeah.
so like, you didn't live past that. So how empathetic are you really? And you don't know anybody beyond, the village maybe next door where you go and sell your grain. So, you're not, hugely empathetic for anybody that's not in your immediate family. But even
Right.
then, it's not like, husbands and wives were sitting around back then and negotiating about who did the dishes. Like, life was pretty rough, and
Yeah.
people's expectations for, how humans would behave next to each other were pretty low bar. you
Those
know
were some dark times, yeah.
yeah.
No, you're right. You're right
So
about that.
empathy was not in great supply, and the wealthy, their entire, the whole feudal system was based around the idea of abusing and taking advantage of people under you who were essentially slaves.
Yeah.
So, I mean, at that point, like, you don't have a lot of empathy for each other. It's not till the mid 19th century when you have novels like the modern novel come out, things like Uncle Tom's Cabin comes out, and suddenly a lot of the country doesn't like this thing, slavery, that we've all been sort of turning a blind eye to. And then the Civil War is not far after that.
Oh, yeah, then you're really going into
Yeah. So I mean,
wow.
yeah. Anyway, boom, fucking. But when you think about that, just now to end this on, think about if you're not a culture or society that is empathetic, and you need to control people,
Mhm.
okay. So how do you do that? Superstition,
Emotion.
things that are out of their control and that are more powerful than they can imagine, demons, those things. But
Mhm.
also, they don't have explanations for things. So when someone goes on a mass killing spree in the 13th century, well, they had to be possessed, because nobody would just do that.
Oh, yeah.
But anyway, we digress.
Yeah,
So,
no, I love we could go into this even
yeah,
further. I loved oh my gosh, I would love to hear more what you have to say. But tell everybody where they can find you. Give us some of the
sure.
movies you've done, some of the projects you're working on, and yeah,
Well,
you're gonna have me thinking now. I'm gonna be thinking about this one for a while.
Well, I've got, if you go to my YouTube channel, Pico Boulevard Int, if you look me up by name, Daniel J. Pico, I believe the link is in the chat. If you go there, you can see a bunch of my short films, a lot of horror films in there, some comedy, some dramas. And then, go to, I have a workshop that I'm teaching on screenwriting.
Oh,
That's going to be on the 22nd of November. You see the link there. It's the Independent Film Workshop. If you look that up, you can also find me on YouTube. YouTube, and also on Facebook. And you look me up by Pico Boulevard ENT, and you'll find me in a lot of different places. I got a feature film coming out called Solstice, which
ooh,
is a supernatural horror movie that's coming out next year. We're finishing up the movie right now in post production, and then we'll be going into production for one of the scripts I wrote, called Whispers in the Walls. Got the California tax credit, so that's going to be going into production next year. And
congrats.
I won't be directing that, but I'm one of the writers on it, and hopefully they'll bring me out and I can watch the movie. They've got some offers out to some name actors who I can't say yet, but see what happens if they take them or not.
That is awesome. I was gonna pull. I saw where excuse me, where your links were put in there. So I'm gonna go ahead and
Great,
repost them. Everybody get over to Daniel's YouTube page and subscribe and show him
thank
some
you.
love over there. Yeah, that looks like your workshop, the 22nd. And then I got your YouTube channel right here under Daniel. Looks like it's Daniel. Does it Daniel J. Pico in there?
Yep,
Okay. Okay, great. And then we're gonna, yeah, check out your work, and
Thanks.
that sounds exciting. You got a lot of stuff in the making and the paranormal. That's pretty cool. So I really appreciate like your insight. You have such you know so much. You have such a broad range of things that you can really like dive into. I'm so curious, and I know this isn't going to be like a short answer or anything like that, but I want to ask you more on how you got into this, or like what this writing and such creativity. And I mean, you're good at it. You're good at like the way that you think and putting yourself in all these different places and positions. Not just anybody can do that. So that's like some, you got some extreme talent going on. So
Well,
I applaud you for all you've done, really.
thank you. I appreciate that, and it's always a pleasure to talk with you and to have be a guest here, and really enjoy our conversations. And thank you for having me. It's always a pleasure.
Yes, yes, and I would love to extend the invite and to have you on my show too, SNX. Do and I'll send you stuff in the background, but
Sure,
a lot of my listeners are in my team are in the chat now, so I can tell that they, and I have a few ideas to put some different spins on it. So I
sure.
think that's absolutely great. So I want to thank you so much again. You guys check out Daniel's work. He's got a workshop that's coming up on the 22nd. Get over to his YouTube page and check it out. You said you had shorts, you had videos, and so, like some stuff on your work. So let's, get over there and show him some love and subscribe there. So yeah, this has been amazing. Absolutely amazing. I want to thank you again for part
Thank
two. I
you.
was looking forward to it. Always so and you guys, I'm Coley, Coley Weber, Coley UFO. You can find me over on X as Coley UFO, YouTube, SNX Radio. Between the two, you should be able to locate me. I'm on all social media platforms. And to Forever Entertainment, please get in there and like, subscribe, and share, comment. Enjoy. If you like what you're seeing here, MK Invasion is coming back to you every Tuesday night, 8 p.m. Central Standard Time, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and every week we have a new topic. Much like Daniel's been back twice, he's got some fascinating stuff. I have even more questions. I'll have a list next time. I'll have to go by, but yeah. So make sure you get on there. See, they have so much coming up. Again, I'm going to go and pull up here just really quick before we end things to make sure that I got it correct with Killer Pizza that they will be premiering with. So yeah. And then I know that they said if you've ever wanted to become an actor, there are new and lots of exciting opportunities available for your upcoming feature film, Killer Pizza. These perks are perfect for people who are just starting out or people who are interested in adding to their resume. Join the cast, get an official producer credit. Oh, yeah. Collect the merchandise and lots more through the Indiegogo, excuse me, today. Too. And also look, we're going to be having some amazing MK Invasion merch coming up and all sorts of things. So until next time, everybody, I hope you enjoy your week and everything runs smoothly for you. And Daniel, is there anything you'd like to leave the listeners with before we go?
Um, don't leave trauma unresolved.
Don't leave trauma unresolved. Those are words to live by,
Yes.
or you're all going to pay for it one way or another.
Yes.
So yeah. So again, thank you, Forever Entertainment and Anthony for all you do behind the scenes. We really appreciate it. So, in chat, love you all, and we'll be seeing you soon.